Welcome to another episode of Mark Goes Hiking. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new NU25 UL. It's a pretty nifty headlamp. In some ways it's an upgrade to the OG NU25, but there are some downgrades as well in my opinion, and I think it's worth talking about those. Now, I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritties of the specs and how to use every single button on this. What I want to do in this video is highlight the major similarities and the major differences between the two. Now that does include some of the functionality, so let's go ahead and dive right in. The first similarity I want to talk about with the two NU25s is the locking feature on both of them. There are two buttons on both of them that operate the headlamp, and to lock the light so it doesn't go on in your bag is you just hold the two buttons down for a few seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds, and it'll lock them both out and unlock them. Those operate the same. Now, some differences between the two functionalities. This is where I'm not going to get into the weeds on this video because it's pretty easy to learn. I figured out all the different modes and how to use them in about 2 minutes using the instructions. When you open up the little instruction book, there's a quick guide, and that's really helpful. With the original NU25, there were two buttons on the top, right? One for the red, one for the white. That was it. Really simple, really easy to use. On the new one, there's some differences. To just kind of click on your basic hiking light, you just hold the power button down for about a solid second, and then from there you can switch brightnesses, which is really nice. You can also switch from 2 lights to 1 light, and then also to the red lights. And to turn it off, you just hold the 1 button down for kind of a prolonged half second, and it turns off. So it is pretty easy, but to learn what mode you want, when you want to use it, that takes a little bit of, experience using it. But honestly, I think within the first evening using it, most people will grab onto it and figure out what function they need and what mode they need. So it's a little more complicated than the original one, but not so complicated that I see it as a negative. Now also, just like the old one, it's got about a 60-degree angling capability. Seems strong enough, seems sturdy enough. They operate the same that way. So you get the same angle of the light that you might need if you're going to do some cooking or looking, or if you want to angle it a little differently when you're walking, that is there as well. The major pro I see to the new one, and I would say there are 2 major upgrades to the NU25 UL. That is the battery longevity. You can see the specs on their website, you can see the specs on Amazon, but this one at a lower setting, I think 60 lumens, which is more than just being in your tent or being more than just in your hammock. That's good for walking around even, will last up to 10 hours. At the lowest setting, I think that is 6 lumens, it's like 45 hours. Now that does come with one con. This thing it's not heavy, but is significantly heavier than the original. The original one with the shot cord is, actually with the original band, 0.99 ounces, and it's even less with the shot cord. This one with this shot cord that it comes with is 1.59 ounces. So really almost double the weight. We're still under 2 ounces. It's not that big of a deal. It's a rechargeable battery, so you're not taking extra batteries with you, which is really nice, but it is significantly heavier. Let's talk about one more negative before I get to another really good positive on this one. The shot cord that comes with this is pretty big and pretty thick. Now, it works just fine. It adjusts just fine. You just push the button down and you pull the cord. But it's really thick. It's really heavy. The aftermarket one I purchased for the original NU25 is really thin, small shot cord, really easy to adjust, never had an issue with it. So I do wish they would have went with not such a substantial shot cord on this one. That's a minor gripe, not such a big deal, but I do wish they went with a smaller one. It would pack up a little bit smaller and frankly shave just a few grams off there for us gram weenies out there. Now, the best feature on this thing, in my opinion, besides the battery life, is it does have an indicator on here about how much battery is left. And what I love, it's 4 dots signifying 25% intervals of battery life. I love that indicator is on there, really easy to check and see how much battery you have left, which is really good for planning if you need to charge it, obviously. Before we go, there's one more small thing on the new one that I don't love as much, and that is the little rubber door for the charging port. I found with this one, it's on the side as opposed to the bottom, but when you go to put the rubber door back on, it doesn't want to quite seal. You have to get it just right to fully seal. So if it's raining out, that could be a concern. Not sure if it would be, but the old one, it's actually almost difficult to get undone. It fits nice and snug and seals up real nice and tight. On the new one, not so much. Like I'm not getting the corner to totally press down right now. So I have to take it out and make sure it's lined up just perfectly right with the port, and then it'll lock in. But that's a little bit of a negative for me. All in all, I do think the upgrades to the NU25 UL are overall positive. Would I recommend the new NU25 UL? I would. I think the options for the different lights is a pro. The long battery life is definitely a pro. The easy to access battery indicator is also a huge pro. The negatives aren't really that big. But I do think if you have the original one, not sure I would buy the new one. Now, I had a reason to get the new one. I had a purpose for it. I wasn't getting it just to do a review on it. I just thought I wanted a secondary headlamp for a different purpose. And so why not try the new one for that different purpose? Very happy with it. It's going to do just fine for what I want it to do. So comparing them, I like the old one more. But if you're looking to get into a headlamp for the first time, you're not going to go wrong with either one. Thanks for viewing this episode of Mark Goes Hiking. We'll see you on the next video.